Welcome to Resi Studio. In my latest video, I covered how to incorporate a Ready Player Me avatar into the Unity Starter as a third-person character controller package and make the avatar work on desktop and mobile environments and add the tools needed to complete the process. In this video, we will use the same project to continue adding new animations to our avatar using animations from Mixamo and make it usable on both desktop and mobile. So before we do anything, we need to dissect three scripts. Two of them are located into our player, the third person controller script, and the starter asset input. The other one is called the UI canvas controller, but it's located here inside these UI setup. So let's check these two lovely scripts. Like the name entails, the third person controller controls your avatar and uses the input from the keyboard or gamepad to move your character and call for the animation. Part of the behavior is located on the move method, which is located roughly around, give me a few seconds, here on line 214. So in this method, the input is being read, and depending on the speed of and what the input has been used in animation, it will play it and the speed at which my avatar will then move. Then we have here on line 282, the method called jump and gravity is pretty self-explanatory. It will check if you are jumping, add the necessary calculation to add gravity and play the jump animation based on your input. Here we have the starter asset input script. This script is more or less your middleman to read your inputs from your keyboard, mouse, or gamepad from your Unity's new input system and the player input component. So if I'll show you a Unity project that has been edited based on what we're gonna do today, if I'm gonna minimize here, and here we have a default project, and I go to my player here, you will see that we have the starter asset input and we also have the player input component. And I'm going to double click here. So this is the new input system from Unity, in which based on how the input is being called, you can assign different input based on your gamepad or keyboard, and the system will read it as it is. So in order for the starter asset input, let's go back to the script. So starter asset will read your input based on your input maps that we just showed you, and all of this will run accordingly. Now here we have the UI canvas controller script. For a short script, his goal is to translate your UI canvas input from your mobile to be read by the starter asset input script that we just saw. So if we, same as before, we go back to the Unity project, the default one. Here we have the UI canvas starter asset. Let us enable it. And here we have the script that we're talking about. The script will take as a parameter in the field your player's input, and it will use all the UIs in order to be read. So now that we have an idea in how the script works and how they're being used, now we're gonna go to Mixamo and download the animations that we're gonna use. So now that we have the animations folder created, we're gonna do the following. We're just gonna copy the address where the folder is so we can save our animations. Here on the top where it says your PC and everything, just Control C in order to save it. Let's close this. Let's go to Mixamo. Here in the crouching idle, let's hit download. Format FBX for Unity with skins, keyframe none, and frames per second 30. So hit download again. Now wait out. So let us paste above the address, hit enter. We're inside the folder that we have on Unity, and you can change the naming of the file, so we just leave it as that, the xwat at crouching idle. Hit save. And we're gonna do the same for the crouching walking animation. So here, crouch walking. We hit download, FPS for Unity with skin, none, 30 per second, download, and done. So back on Unity, you're gonna see you have the two animations inside your animations folder. So before using it, and we need to do the following. So we're gonna select both animations one by one. To reg on the inspector window, the animation type has to be humanoid. Hit applied in order for us to use the animation with our Ready Player Me avatar. Run it again and hit apply. So now that we changed the animation type of both of these animations, now we're gonna get the animation per se. So inside our crouching idle, which is gonna open, we're gonna aim at the little triangle, which is called crouching idle. That is your animation. So in order for us to edit it, because we cannot edit it, for us to edit it and use it, we need to duplicate this animation. So for it, you have to press Control D on your keyboard. So Control D, and they're gonna put the animation outside. We're gonna do the same with the crouching walking animation. I'm gonna look the triangle one with the triangle symbol. And here we go. So for both animations, we're gonna do the following. Here on the inspector window, we're gonna enable loop time. For the root transformation rotation, we're gonna put bake into pose. For body orientation, we're gonna put original. No, I think this is body orientation. Yeah, leave it as it is. My bad. For the root transformation position on the Y, we're gonna again bake into position, but this one is based on feet, and the root transformation position X and Z, again, bake into position, and you can, this one is based on original or center mask. I usually leave it as original. So we're gonna do the same thing for the crouching idle, loop, baked. I think this one is not Lulu, it's body rotation again, back into pose, feet, back into pose, and original. So now that we have the animations, we're gonna add this animation to our animator component. So in order to locate your animator component, you're gonna find your player, either your player rater me or your player amateur. So let's go to the animator component. Here we have the controller, double click it, and here we are welcome into the animator. So to start, we're gonna create a new parameter pool parameter. Here we already have it on Crouch, but for you to do it, just press on this plus icon here, select bool, and name it Crouch. Now we're gonna create a new blend tree. We're going to right click, create state from new blend tree. Here we're gonna call it the Crouch blend tree. So once you select it, here on the inspector window, Crouch blend tree, and again we're gonna set the transition right now. So selecting the idle walk run blend, right click and select main transition, select the newly created arrow. On here on the inspector, we have a little section called condition. So we're gonna hit on the plus icon, and the condition is that once the crouch is true, you will pass into the crouch animation. And then we're gonna do vice versa. A new arrow, a new transition. Here, place the crouch and false. We're going to double click on the crouch blend tree. Here on the blend tree, we're gonna use the same speed parameter that we already had, since we're using everything the same of our package. The only difference that we are changing animation. So for our motion list, since it's empty, we're gonna locate our crouching. Here we hit the plus, add motion field. We're gonna locate our crouch animation and we're gonna drag it over here. Select again to add another motion field, and we gotta drag the walking. So for the blend animation to work, make sure that your idle is the first motion and the crouch walking is the second. If you want to see if it works, all you have to do is that below you have like a small like window with your the avatar from the project. Just hit play. We can see that we have the crouching idle running, but if we increase the speed, we'll blend both animations and then start walking. Sometimes on this window it feels funny, but once you lay it out on the project, it looks nice. Now we must create the crouch input from what key press will be read. So in this scenario, we're going to edit our starter input action asset. So in order to locate it, let's go to our player, double click, well, not double click, just look for your player input component, double click the input action asset, which is here. Now we have the new window. Please enable auto save, so if something happens, everything you do here, it is saved up. So in this situation, we're gonna be using a button action, similar as to sprinting. That if I'm moving and I'm pressing this particular key or button, I need to run. So in this scenario, every time I'm moving, but if I'm pressing the crouch button or anything, play this animation. So it has the same behavior as a sprint. So we're gonna do the easy way. We're going to right click on the sprint action, hit duplicate. So let us do a small double click, and here I'm gonna change the name of the action to crouch. Let us go inside to find the binding properties. Selecting the left shift, we're gonna go with the binding section here on the path. And we're gonna go find the keyboard, US layout, and left control. Here we are. Let us do the same with the left trigger gamepad. So select. Let's go to the path, select gamepad. I'm gonna select the left shoulder. I think I passed it. There you go. Left shoulder. Close the window. Now we're gonna start editing the scripts. So let us go to a player amateur, find the starter asset input. So we're gonna add a new variable here on the starter asset input. Below the script, we're gonna create a new boolean. I'm gonna name it crouch. So public bool crouch, and then under the public void sprint input, which is sprint input, which is this little guy here, we're going to create a new method and we're gonna call it crouch input. We're gonna follow the same behavior as for the sprint. I'm gonna do boil inside as a parameter, new crouch state. We're gonna close it here. Then crouch equals new crouch state. Let us go up, and here on this where it says on sprint, we're gonna create a new method. Void call on crouch, which is this one is responsible for reading from the input action map. Value. And then we're gonna do the same. Crouch input value dot is pressed. I'm gonna save it. Now we're gonna edit the third person controller. Let's go find our player, and we're gonna find the third person controller script. Double click here. I have it open. So one of the first variables that we're gonna create would be the one for the animation ID. So here where it says animation ID, we're gonna create the one for crouch. So I'm gonna create a private int underscore anim ID crouch. Now below we're gonna go directly to our method called assign animation ID. I'm gonna then place our new creative variable here, anim ID crouch equal to the animator dot string to hatch, and here we're gonna place our created animation called crouch, which is our parameter. And then on the move method, let's go below. Basically, at the end of inside this method, here if has animator is being run, we're gonna add the newly created stuff to play the animation based on the input. So animator that set bool, since our newly created parameter of crouch is a bool parameter. So we're gonna put the ID of the crouch here and our input, and since we're already added our crouch, and save it. And then on jump and gravity, here's what it says: if grounded, but in this we're also gonna add, because we don't want to jump if we're crouching, so we need to add this parameter. So grounded, and if you're not crouching, input crouch, then you can jump then. But if you're crouching, you cannot jump. Now that we have the crouch input being read and also being read by the third person controller, now we're gonna add it for the UI canvas. And where it says virtual sprint input, this is where we're gonna add the newly one for the crouch. So public void virtual crouch input is a bool. So it's virtual crouch state. Close it. And then we add the following: started asset input, crouch input, then virtual crouch state. And then close it and save it. Everything we have done, this can be used on desktop and will run, but we need to now edit the UI on the mobile version in order to make it all playable. For this one, we're going to, where is the UI canvas starter asset, we're going to here and we're going to add a new button. So for this, we're going to duplicate the sprint one. So right click and select duplicate. And then here we're going to, in the spectre, we're going to call it crouch. Okay. Then we cannot see it, so we're going to double click to see where it is. Okay. Let me change the camera and this so I can see it clearly. So in this, we're going to do the following. We're going to move it around where we want it. In the inspector here, where it says image icon, which you can disable it here, so we don't have the icon on sprint. And here on image, we're gonna change the color to whatever we want. I will put it as blue. So the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna find the UI virtual button, and as it is calling the method virtual sprint input, but in our case, we're gonna locate the newly created crouch virtual input. So on the list, we're gonna select it, and it says UI canvas controller input, the edited script that we just edited, and we're gonna look for the virtual crouch input. And that's it. I'm gonna show you the other project that I have already set up. Here, my beloved Ready Player Me character. I will disable my UI input. Let's go to game here on the window, hit play. Controlling my mouse. I'm walking my WSAD keys. I'm gonna press on my left controller and I'm crouching, but I'm also walking forward, so I can crouch and walk. But if I stop pressing the W key, which is my forward, I'm crouching in idle. So there you have it. We just added new animations to our Ready Player Me avatar, just using free animation from Mixamo and obviously free packages from Unity. And as you can see, it was easy edit to the script and component to accept new inputs to a project. This is pretty much as basic as it gets. So once you start adding more complex animations or something, then you created new script and stuff. Thank you for being here. Until the next time.